Welcome to the Sports Angle, live in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world. I'm your host, Rachiele. Let's get into it. Go to our website, thesportsangle.com. Check out all the content we have on there, articles, audio, video, live streams. We are going to be uploading every single show to our website, thesportsangle.com. So if you are not on Facebook Live, you're not on YouTube, you're not on any social media sites, and you want to watch the show, well, now you can by going to the website, sportsangle.com. We also wrote an article recently about the Vegas Golden Knights, who are currently in a lockout because of the NHL. They're having this long break that should be ending soon, so hopefully that's good for the NHL. And go to all our social medias, at the Sports Angle, follow, like, share every single show with all your friends and family and all the people that you know around the world. We appreciate all of your support. And follow your host at Rachiele. I tweet about sports every single day, and I try to give you a different angle on my social media as well, at Rachiele. And for all audio listeners on iHeartRadio and Spotify and all platforms we share this to, hit the follow button, turn on notifications, and share the audio with all of your friends and family. Every time you share a show, it's definitely appreciated. Now, the Sports Angle, we have not talked about Major League Baseball in a while because of the MLB lockout, because of all the things that are going on right now. There hasn't been much going on. You haven't been able to talk about any big contracts that have been taking effect. There hasn't been any really big update about what's going on right now between the negotiations between MLB owners, MLB Player Association, what Rob Manfred, what's going on there. There really hasn't been much back and forth dialogue. However, when it comes to MLB, something happened recently that made me want to start this show off with this topic. Recently, there was the MLB farm system rankings. Now, every single year in the offseason, they will release to you the MLB farm system rankings. They tell you who the top 100 prospects are. And what the fascinating part about it, and what really intrigued your host, Rachiele, is who was at the top. Now, before I get into the top, and before I really talk about who is the top team right now in the farm system rankings of MLB, before I really break it down and I really talk about who is the absolute best of the best when it comes to the future of Major League Baseball, I'm going to do the top 10. I'm going to go 10 through 2, and then I will get to who the number 1 is. So when it comes to the MLB farm system rankings, it really shows you who has a bright future ahead of them in Major League Baseball. And 10th is the Arizona Diamondbacks, their top prospect, Jordan Lawler, the shortstop. He's 19 years old, going to be a really good kid in Major League Baseball once they bring him up in a couple of years. In 9th is the Texas Rangers. They drafted Jack Leiter. I mean, he had a fantastic college career at Vanderbilt, the son of MLB pitching legend and Al Leiter. So Texas, they're number 9 in the MLB farm system rankings. They're a team you have to watch out for. Number 8 is the New York Mets. We've seen what Gary Cohen has done with getting Max Scherzer, with getting Eduardo Escobar, getting Starling Marte, getting Mark Canha. I mean, the New York Mets, being number 8 in the farm system, they still have a lot of parts there. Francisco Alvarez is their top prospect right now. Number 7 in the MLB farm system is a team that was in the ALCS. They were in an opportunity to go to the World Series, and they have one of the best shortstop prospects in all of baseball, and Marcelo Mayer, and that is the Boston Red Sox. I mean, it's kind of amazing how the Boston Red Sox at number 7 have this amazing 19-year-old they drafted in the 2021 MLB draft with one of their top draft picks, and him being number 7 as their number 1 prospect. Number 6 is the San Diego Padres. The San Diego Padres had a huge collapse and a huge fall off in 2021. They're hoping that will not replicate in 2022. Maybe their top 10 farm system and those guys getting brought up will help the San Diego Padres. CJ Abrams, their shortstop, who is in Double-A right now, 21 years old. He is their top prospect. Number 5, and Joshua Bailey, you might be interested in this, The number 5 farm system right now in Major League Baseball is the San Francisco Giants. They have Marco Luciano, and Marco, 20 years old. He's going to be in Double-A to start out the year. And I'm going to say this about the San Francisco Giants. They have a really bright future in Major League Baseball. 5 prospects in the top 100. I mean, I think it's really fascinating how the San Francisco Giants have 5 top 100 prospects. Joey Bart's on there. Luis Matos is on there. Elliot Ramos is on there. Kyle Harrison to help out the pitching. So the San Francisco Giants did good last year. But let's see what happens when they add those prospects into the system as well. At number 4 is a team on the rise, and a team a month ago I said will take over the AL Central, and that's the Detroit Tigers. And their number 1 prospect is former number 1 overall pick, Spencer Torkelson. I mean, it's amazing how the Detroit Tigers have been building up their pool. They've been rebuilding, and they have 2 players in the top 10 of the top 100 farms and the top 100 prospects. The Detroit's at number 4. At number 3 in the bronze medal goes to the Kansas City Royals, Bobby Witt Jr. He is their top prospect right now. This really good shortstop for them. But they also have 4 prospects in the top 100. They have Asa Lacy. They have MJ Melendez. There are some good prospects that are either in AAA or are going to get into Major League Baseball very soon in Kansas City. They're in the 3rd spot. And then at number 2 is a team that barely missed the playoffs last year, and that is the Seattle Mariners. And when I say they are loaded in their farm system, they have 5 players in the top 100, and 3 of them are projected to make Major League Baseball by 2022. George Kirby, Emerson Hancock, and Julio Rodriguez. So it's really interesting how what the Mariners are doing there. And Joshua Bailey, glad we're top 5. Absolutely. I mean, the San Francisco Giants are doing really well right now. But the number 1 team in Major League Baseball in terms of farm system, in terms of future, in terms of assets that are going to help them down the line, the number 1 team in terms of having development is the Baltimore Orioles. It's insane how the Baltimore Orioles have gone from the last 3 or 4 years being absolute filler crap to now having the number 1 farm system in Major League Baseball. Adley Rutschman, 23 years old. He was the number 1 overall pick back in 2019, and they say he is the future face of the franchise out there in Baltimore. And the fact that he is going to be starting out in AAA before getting to MLB at some point in 2022, you're going to get to see it. They also have another player in the top 10 of the MLB top 100 in Grayson Rodriguez. He is going to be at some point in AAA in 2022, maybe gets to MLB by the end of the year. Grayson Rodriguez, they drafted him with their 1st round pick in 2018. And then they have another pitcher in DL Hall, who DL Hall was their 1st round pick in 2017. He's the oldest out of them all. However, the great thing about him is that he is projected to make his MLB debut in 2022. He is projected to make the main roster in Baltimore by 2022. And they also have this really good shortstop they drafted in the 2nd round behind Rutschman, and that is Gunnar Henderson, who is going to be in AAA at the beginning or some point in 2022. Hopefully, he gets the call up to MLB by some point. Now, what I like about Baltimore, besides the fact that they have 5 prospects in the top 100, despite the fact that they have 2 in the top 100, which has really helped their stock in MLB farm system rankings. What I appreciate about the Baltimore Orioles and what I can respect about what they're doing is that they are getting younger and they are picking up the right pieces. They know that they're not going to be good this year. They know that's going to take a while for the Baltimore Orioles to compete with the Toronto Blue Jays. They know it's going to be a while before they compete with the Tampa Bay Rays. They know it's going to be a while to even contend in terms of New York and Boston. So what Baltimore has done is that they are getting younger. Their starting rotation as of right now, for anyone who's even looked at their depth chart out there in Baltimore, their starting rotation, you have John Means, Bruce Zimmerman, Keegan Akin, and Zach Lauter. And on top of that, they also have a young 26-year-old who's also coming in there in Isaac Matson. I mean, this Baltimore Orioles team has no pitcher in their starting rotation above the age of 30. And understand that when you have Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander and Zach Greinke, who are still in Major League Baseball, that's a big deal. Understand that the Baltimore Orioles have a young starting rotation that's going to progress and get better every single year. Also, they have a young closer in Tyler Wells, who has been developing and really progressing as a relief pitcher over the last year, year and a half. At first base, they have their future first baseman, a person they believe is going to be alongside Adley Rutschman, and that is Ryan Mountcastle. Ryan Mountcastle, he had a bit of a disappointing 2021, but after having so much hype and having so much built around this guy, Baltimore is going to have him be a future piece, a future core of their organization. They have Rougned Odor, who they brought over from the New York Yankees to play second base. I mean, Odor is a feisty, he is a fiery guy out there in New York. Understand that when it comes to Odor, he has that mentality that you're going to get out of my way, or I'm going to push you out of my way. I mean, everybody remembers Odor punching Jose Bautista in the face, and that was 6 years ago. He was the heart and soul of the Texas Rangers. He goes over to New York, helps them get to a wild card spot, and now he has joined the Baltimore Orioles as a veteran of sorts in that role. They have Jorge Mateo at shortstop, who I've actually seen play live here in Las Vegas. He is part of the Aviators organization. He has a lot of talent, and he has a very good glove out there in short. Calvin Gutierrez at third base. I mean, this guy is going to develop very well out there in Baltimore. Their outfield has huge question marks. And the reason why their outfield has so many question marks is because are they going to bring in the youth to take over? Or are they going to keep the guys that have really helped the Baltimore Orioles as of right now? Are they going to help out that organization and make them get better as time goes on? Because in left field, they've had Austin Hayes. And Austin Hayes, who is 26 years old, he has been a solid left fielder. He has been a good part of that team. But understand that when it comes to Austin Hayes, he has trade value. He is someone that Baltimore can use to get more assets in the future. At center field, they have an all-star center fielder in Cedric Mullins. He's 27 years old, and make no mistake about it, he is entering the prime of his career. He's going to be making the most money at this point. So if you're Baltimore, do you keep on that center fielder of the future? Or do you go to a young 24-year-old in Ryan McKenna, and do you trade Cedric Mullins? Do you let go of your all-star center fielder and move on to protect your future? Baltimore has a lot of questions they have to answer there. And then in right field, while they have Taylor Nevin, who is a young prospect himself, once again, they're a 24-year-old in their outfield, they have Anthony Santander, who is a right fielder who has done well for them. But when you have two young guys that are being brought up in the Orioles system, they're going to have to decide what they need to do. Now, my angle for the Baltimore Orioles is that if they do this correctly, build around Cedric Mullins, build around Adley Rutschman, and build around Ryan Mountcastle. Make those your trio, your core out there in Baltimore. And let me explain to you why I say you need to build around them. Now, Ryan Mountcastle, he is going to develop as a hitter. He's going to get more in bats. He's going to get more home runs. He's going to get more RBIs. He just needs more opportunity at the plate. But the more he does, the better he is going to be and a more asset he's going to be for Baltimore. So Ryan Mountcastle, he needs to be a part of that core because of how much future they have put into, because of how much they have relied on Ryan Mountcastle to be in Baltimore. Understand, for anyone who doesn't know who Ryan Mountcastle is, this is someone who was their first round pick back in 2015. This is a guy who last year had 33 home runs, 89 RBIs, but had only a 255 batting average. So he has talent, but he just needs to get that batting average up, and he needs that to be more consistent. Now, when it comes to Adley Rutschman, he is a catcher that was drafted number 1 overall for a reason. He has a solid glove. He's got good speed. He has an excellent bat. When it comes to him There's no reason why he is the #1 prospect in all of Major League Baseball. He has solid power, solid arm. His fielding ability is probably the best thing that he has. And when it comes to him, he had a record $8 million signing bonus to sign with the Baltimore Orioles. That was a record at that point. Understand that this is a guy in the minors. I want you to keep in mind here, when it came to his career in the minors with Rutschman, he had 23 home runs, 75 RBIs, and a .285 batting average in 2021. Now, you might be asking yourself, why is that such a big deal? Well, that includes his AA and his AAA stats together. But when you only look at his AAA stats, they're remarkable. In 43 games, he had a .405 on-base percentage, a .490 slugging percentage, 5 home runs, 20 RBIs, and a .312 batting average. So he did that in AAA, and he's going to be in AAA most likely to start out the year so they can take advantage of the 1-year arbitration rule. So with the Baltimore Orioles, they are going to have him play probably 40, 50 games in the minors and then have him get called up to Major League Baseball. So his AAA stats tell me that he is productive, he's consistent, and he is someone who has a very good slugging percentage and someone who can put a lot of power in his bat. So the Baltimore Orioles need to build around him. They need to build around Mountcastle. And if they were smart, they would not trade Cedric Mullins. They would build around him. For anyone who knows this show, they know I'm a Chicago Cubs fan, so I usually use Chicago Cubs references. In 2015, they had 2 young prospects coming into the Chicago Cubs organization. Their name was Chris Bryant and Javi Baez. Javi Baez was this young, up-and-coming defensive monster at shortstop. And Chris Bryant was a third baseman who had an excellent bat and someone who is supposed to be the face of the franchise in that organization. But in Chicago, they already had a guy that was being built for long-term success. In Chicago, they had a player that was already of that organization and someone they could rely on in Chicago. And that was first baseman Anthony Rizzo. Now, Anthony Rizzo had been with the Cubs for 3 or 4 years before Bryant and before Baez showed up, very similar to Cedric Mullins. Cedric Mullins arrived with the Baltimore Orioles in 2018. He's been playing with them for the last 4 years. Understand the difference between Cedric Mullins and Anthony Rizzo is that Cedric Mullins already has that all-star label. Cedric Mullins already has that attachment to him already. Versus Anthony Rizzo, who really blossomed and developed into an all-star caliber first baseman once Bryant and Baez showed up. So with Cedric Mullins having 30 home runs and a .291 batting average last year, which got him into the all-star game in the American League, I say the Baltimore Orioles make him their Anthony Rizzo from the Cubs rebuild in 2015. They make Cedric Mullins the veteran at 27 years old and have him be the reliable piece out there in Baltimore. Now, before we go to commercial break, I want to ask everyone around the world, everyone who's watching this show, the Baltimore Orioles have a bright future. They have the #1 farm system in MLB according to their farm system rankings. And do you believe with their future core of Cedric Mullins, Ryan Mountcastle, and Adley Rutschman, do you think the Baltimore Orioles in 2 or 3 years are going to be contending with the top dogs in the AL East? Do you believe that the Baltimore Orioles with Rutschman, Mullins, and Mountcastle are going to be alongside the Boston Sox who were in the ALCS last year? Do you think they're going to be alongside the Tampa Bay Rays, who had one of the best records in all the American League? Are they going to be alongside the historic New York Yankees, who have always made the playoffs even when everyone has their back against the wall? And will they contend with the upcoming and uprising Toronto Blue Jays, who already have their future core built in Gurriel, Guerrero, Bichette, and Biggio? We're going to go back to the break. We are going to take a bit quick 2-minute break here on the Sports Angle. When we come back, we're going to get into the 2022 NFL Draft. We're going to talk about players who have opted out of their bowl games and why you need to care about that. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Sports Angle. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Sports Angle, live in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world. I'm your host, Rachiele. Let's get back into it. Go to our website, thesportsangle.com. Check out all our articles and listen to all our audio and check out our videos as well as our live streams on the sportsangle.com. We are going to be uploading every single show video style to our website. So if you don't have Facebook Live, you don't have Twitter, you don't have YouTube where we share all our shows to, then you can go to our website, sportsangle.com, and watch the content there. We also wrote an article recently about the Vegas Golden Knights, who are going to be making their return against the Los Angeles Kings after the extended break the NHL just did recently. So Vegas Golden Knights wrote an article recently about them. Go check that out. We also go to all our social medias at the Sports Angle. Follow, like, share. We appreciate all of your support. And share the show to all your friends and family and to everyone that you know around the world. Follow your host at Rocco Rachiele. I tweet about sports every single day. I try to give you a different angle. I comment on the biggest stories in the sports world. And for all audio listeners on iHeartRadio and Spotify and all platforms we share this show to, hit the follow button, turn on notifications so you don't miss any episode of the Sports Angle. In the last segment, we talked about the Baltimore Orioles. We talked about the #1 farm system and what that means for Major League Baseball. Now it is time to transition over to the NFL because there was a breaking news story that came out of the sports world that I really am intrigued about. There is one story that came out very recently that it has a big impact on college football, but also has a big impact on the 2022 NFL draft. And that news story is that both wide receivers from the Ohio State Buckeyes, Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, these two guys have opted out of the Rose Bowl. They will not be playing in the game on January 1st against Utah because they want to focus on the NFL draft. They have announced that they are going to forego their eligibility and they're going to focus on the NFL draft. They want to get drafted in the first round. They want to make that nice payday. They want to get that a piece of the pie. Now, there's two ways to look at this. One, from an Ohio State fan perspective, and two, from a college football fan perspective. Now, from an Ohio State fan perspective, this means you are royally screwed against Utah on Saturday because you do not have your best wide receiver out there. You do not have your second best wide receiver out there. You're also going to have a defensive lineman in Haskell Garrett, who has also opted out of the Rose Bowl to focus on the draft as well. You have one of your best offensive linemen in Nicholas Petit, who has also opted out of the bowl to focus on the draft as well. So the Ohio State Buckeyes are losing valuable players who are opting out of the season because they want to focus on the draft. They want to focus on making that money. So from an Ohio State fan perspective, you have to ask the question, why does it matter less that they are in a bowl game versus going to the NFL draft and being selected as one of the top picks in the NFL draft? As an Ohio State fan, you have to ask yourself the question, when did this start? When did it become a tradition that players who are projected to be in the first round, projected to be in the second round, they declare a month before that they are not going to be there during bowl weekend? They're not going to be there to help their team win the last game of the season. Okay, when did that happen? When did it become the normal for your best players on the team to sit out and cost your team a victory at the end of the season? And also, where did this become a trend? Okay, where did this idea of, you know what, I'm going to sit this out, I'm going to get a good trainer, I'm going to put some nice reps in, I'm going to make sure that I am fit, I am ripped, I am jacked, I'm going to make sure that I am at my absolute 100% peak athletic ability. So when I get to Lucas Oil Stadium, I am ready for the scouting combine. I'm going to make sure that when we have our pro day and we have all the scouts in the NFL coming down to see me work out, that I'm not going to disappoint. Where did this come from? Where instead of being there for your boys, instead of being there for your team, you are going to take it upon yourself to be with another organization, to be with another group, and essentially go to the next process of your career. And for the people who are joining in around the world who are wondering what I'm talking about, Ohio State didn't have one, not two, not three, but four players opt out of the Rose Bowl because they want to focus on the 2022 NFL draft. Their two best wide receivers, one of their best offensive linemen, and arguably one of their best defensive linemen have opted out of the Rose Bowl, and they're going to be focusing on the NFL draft. And I'm not going to ask I'm not going to ask the who question, because we all know who is the reason for why they're doing this. They're doing this because they want to make millions of dollars in the NFL. They do not want to get injured in a bowl game and cost them an opportunity to make $5 million signing bonus. All right, these players are doing it and they're opting out of these bowl games because if they cannot get injured and risk the opportunity of having an ACL tear. They do not want to risk having a separated shoulder. They do not want to have a risk of having a concussion. They do not want to risk having all these massive injuries in the NFL. Understand that when it comes to the Ohio State Buckeyes, the reason why they're doing this is very simple, point blank, is that the Ohio State Buckeyes, those four players who are opting out, they would rather get paid $5 million in the NFL and then suffer a concussion there versus playing in the Rose Bowl, getting a concussion there, and potentially missing out on their future. And there's a reason why they're doing this, and there's actually a very valid explanation. You have had players like Ed Oliver, who at one point was projected one of the top two players in the NFL draft. He gets injured at University of Houston, and he drops almost out of the top 10 before he gets picked up by Buffalo. We have seen quarterbacks in the NFL draft have their stock plummet because of a bad bowl game and because they lost in epic fashion in college football. Understand, when it comes to these games, there is a risk and reward. The risk is that you can get injured. The risk is that your draft stock can go down. A risk is that you can inevitably have very, very things go wrong in the college football bowl game. But the reward is that if you are in the lower first round, if you're in the top of the second round, if you have an excellent bowl game, that's the most lasting impression those NFL teams are going to have. If you have a 400-yard passing game as a quarterback and you win your bowl game, well, scouts are going to remember that. Executives are going to remember that. The coaches are going to remember that. The scouting department is going to remember that. Understand that if you have, as a running back, a 200-yard rushing game and you have 3 touchdowns, that will make sure that you get a good opportunity of being drafted in the NFL. So there's risk and there's reward with this situation. Understand that why Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Nicholas Petit, and Haskell Garrett, the reason why these guys are withdrawing and pretty much opting out of the bowl game is because they look at the risk and they determine that the risk is bigger than the reward. That the reward of them having 5 sacks and having 7 tackles in the Rose Bowl would help their draft stock. The risk of them getting injured is more than the reward of helping Ohio State win the Rose Bowl on Saturday by Garrett Wilson having 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. So to really conclude my angle on this before we go to break and before we talk about the college football playoff, my angle is that the reason why these opt-outs are happening is because the risk has become bigger than the reward. The risk of them getting injured weighs more than the reward of having an excellent performance. Okay, they do not want to have an Ed Oliver instead of having a Donnell Pumphrey. They do not want to have an injury happen to him like Willis McGahee versus the reward of a game-winning drive like Vince Young did. So that's my angle on this. The reason why Ohio State players are withdrawing and opting out of the Rose Bowl is because the risk has become bigger than the reward. It's a bigger incentive to opt out versus having an amazing, lasting impression at a bowl game. And for all the Ohio State fans who have been saying to me for the last month that Utah is not going to win the Rose Bowl, well, you've just lost 4 of your best players. And you also, by the way, are not going to have certain players because they're out for the season due to injury. So I'm going to make this challenge to any Ohio State fan who's watching right now. I'm going to make this challenge to anyone around the world watching to the Sports Angle, listening to the Sports Angle, who is an Ohio State Buckeyes fan. I will say live on air that the Utah Utes, University of Utah, will beat the Ohio State Buckeyes in Pasadena on Saturday at the Rose Bowl, January 1st, and I will be smiling from ear to ear when it happens. Because you've lost Wilson, you've lost Olave, you've lost Petit, you've lost Garrett. Understand that the Ohio State Buckeyes have lost key members of that organization, and they are not going to be able to contend with University of Utah. So my angle is that Utah will pick up the win on Saturday in the Rose Bowl, and they will beat Ohio State. We're going to take a short break here on Sports Angle, and when we come back, we're going to get into the college football playoff, and I'm going to tell you which 2 teams are going to advance to the college football playoff and are going to battle for the biggest prize in college football. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Sports Angle. Welcome back to The Sports Angle, live in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world. I'm your host, Rachiele. Let's get into it. Go to our website, thesportsangle.com. Check out all the content we have on there. Articles, audio, video, live streams, you name it, we have it on thesportsangle.com. We wrote an article recently about the Vegas Golden Knights, who are going to be returning to action against the Los Angeles Kings. So definitely go watch that game because I most definitely will. Also, for all the people who cannot watch this show on Facebook Live, on YouTube, on Twitter, we download these shows and upload them to our website every single day. So if you cannot watch these episodes, don't worry about it. You can watch it on thesportsangle.com. We've got you covered. And go to all of our social medias at The Sports Angle. Follow, like, share. We appreciate all of your support. And share all these shows to your friends and family. Let everyone know around the world about The Sports Angle. And for all audio listeners on iHeartRadio and Spotify and all platforms we share this show to, hit the follow button, turn on notifications, and share these shows to everybody that you know. We definitely appreciate it. So in the last segment, we talked about the NFL opt-outs. We talked about the Rose Bowl, talked about Ohio State, talked about University of Utah. However, I'm actually not done with college football, not yet. In fact, I'm not even close to I'm not even close in terms of being done with college football, because the college football playoff, the final four teams, they're going to be facing off later this week. You're going to have University of Georgia go up against University of Michigan. You are going to have Alabama go up against Cincinnati. You're going to have the best four teams in college football compete against each other. So what we're going to do here on The Sports Angle is I'm going to give you my prediction. I'm going to give you my angle on who is going to get to the college football championship game, and I will explain why. And Joshua Bailey, now I know on Stay Tuned, we've talked about this in the past, but we have not talked about this on The Sports Angle. I need to know, Joshua Bailey, have you picked a college football team yet? Have you decided which jersey, what cap you are going to be wearing for college football? I see your comment, GA all the way, and I'm going to talk about Georgia and Michigan in a second. But Joshua Bailey, I want to know from you, have you picked a cap yet? Do you have a team in mind when it comes to college football? Or are we going to have to wait for Stay Tuned, maybe tomorrow, to figure out what that is? Now, Georgia versus Michigan, that is going to be being played on Friday. It's going to be around 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And I will say that this is going to be a very interesting matchup. You have one team that is defensive heavy. You have one team in Michigan that has arguably the number one draft pick in the NFL draft in Aiden Hutchinson. You have a Georgia team which is built on defense, defense, defense. This is an organization that before the Alabama game was the most dominant college football team defensive-wise we had seen in a long time. And understand how Georgia and how Michigan got here. Understand that when it comes to these teams, it wasn't luck. You know, they didn't just luck into getting into the college football playoff. No. When it came to Georgia and when it came to Michigan, they had to bust their ass day in and day out. They had to win every single game imaginable for them to get into the college football playoff. I mean, Georgia's schedule was a bloodbath. Georgia's schedule was the definition of, hand shoes and horseshoes and hand grenades. Yeah, it's live, folks. Anything can happen. It was horseshoes and hand grenades when it came to Georgia. I mean, I understand they had to beat Clemson. They had to beat Arkansas. They had to beat Auburn. They had to beat Kentucky. They had to go in and try to beat Alabama. Understand that Georgia won 4 games against top 25 opponents. And in that Alabama game, they got absolutely decimated, but understand that they had one of the top ranked defenses in college football before that point. You know what, Joshua Bailey, I'm looking forward to that. If I can, collab with you on Stay Tuned, that would be absolutely great on that. So when it comes to Georgia, we know about their struggle. We know what they had to do to get into the college football playoff. they had to beat some very tough opponents in a very tough SEC to get there. But I don't want anyone to scoff at what Michigan had to do, because Michigan had to scratch and claw to beat teams late in the season. I mean, understand that they had to beat number 2 Penn State. They had to beat number 2 Ohio State. They also had to beat a very interesting Iowa team, who, by the way, should have been a lot better than what it was in the Big Ten title game. They had to go up and they had to beat Washington, but when they were still good at that point. They had to go up and beat Wisconsin. They did that very, very convincingly. So when it comes to Michigan, they did well. They did well. Michigan State did. All right, Joshua, that sounds good. Now, when it comes to Michigan, their defense, and I have Georgia's defense, but here's what we're going to do here on the Sports Angle. This is how we do this show whenever I make predictions, whenever I make projections here on this show. I simply look at the facts. I look at what is the cold, hard truth in this game. And I want to talk about what team has the better offense, what team has the better defense, and what team has the better coaching. Understand that there is 3 important aspects to any college football game, and I really want to talk about the fact that when it comes to this NFL draft next year, yeah, there's going to be a good amount of Georgia and a good amount of Michigan. But I want to focus on, do they have a better offense or a better defense? So let's get into it here on the Sports Angle. All right, let's get into it. Now, on offense. Now, offense, originally, I said it was going to be close. Originally, I thought there could be some good back and forth conversation when it comes to this situation. Understand that when it comes to Georgia and when it comes to Michigan, I believe there was a chance that there would be a good back and forth battle with this situation. However, when it comes to Georgia and when it comes to Michigan, I cannot say this with a straight face. I cannot sit here and pretend that Georgia does not have the better offense. Understand that when it comes to Georgia, their offense has been elite. Their offense has been better than what Michigan's has been. Understand that Georgia has a very good quarterback right now in their system. When it comes to Georgia, when it comes to what they have done in college football, you cannot deny the fact that Georgia has a better quarterback. You cannot deny that the running game has been very effective for Georgia. And they got some really good offensive linemen that have been able to protect that quarterback and have been able to protect that running back. And their statistics don't lie either. Understand that Georgia this season, they have had a quarterback in Stetson Bennett, who, yeah, I know JT Daniels was the big, whoop at the beginning point of the season, but Stetson Bennett has really pulled through. He has someone 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, nearly 2,400 passing yards. And their running game, they've had a 2-back duo in Zamar White and James Cook that have helped Georgia with 17 rushing touchdowns between the two. And their tight end in Brock Bowers and their wide receiver on the outside in Ladd McConkey, they have 16 touchdowns combined with both of them. So when it comes to Georgia, I have them as the better offense. Now, defense is 100% Michigan. As much as I want to say that Georgia is going to sweep this thing, Michigan has the better all-right defense. Understand that Aiden Hutchinson is the key piece and is the core of that team. But I don't want anyone to forget about who also is on the opposite side of him, and that's David Ajabo. I mean, David Ajabo has been an excellent rusher. I mean, this is a guy who has an excellent 2-point stand. He is explosive. He is fast off the side. And they also have another player that could go in the first round this year, and that is their free safety in Daxon Hill. Understand that his coverage ability has been excellent. He could be a corner. He could be a safety. His instincts have been incredible. So when it comes to Michigan, they're better on defense. Georgia has been better on offense. And then when it comes to coaching, which is once again one of my biggest attributes and one of my biggest reasons for picking a team, Kirby Smart has been better than Jim Harbaugh. All right, Kirby Smart has been better at making decisions than Jim Harbaugh has. Okay, understand that when it comes to Kirby Smart, over the last 4 or 5 years, he has been nearly perfect as Georgia's head coach. Understand that Kirby Smart is a playmaker. He is someone who gets something done as a head coach. So I give Kirby Smart the advantage in terms of head coach. I give Michigan the advantage on defense, and I give Georgia the advantage on offense. And the odds here in Las Vegas, let me give a shout out to MGM for this one. Georgia is the 7.5-point favorite, and the money line is minus 320 for University of Georgia. So with that being said, I'm going to give you my angle live here on the Sports Angle. I'm going to give you what you need, and what you need is the prediction, the projection, the spoiler for what's going to happen on December 31st at 4:30 p.m., 7:30 p.m. All right, I'm going to give it to you live right here, right now. I have the Georgia Bulldogs winning this game. I think that this could be a 35-28 matchup. Understand that Michigan and Georgia are going to give themselves a hard-fought battle. Make no mistake about it. But I will not deny that Georgia's offense and Kirby Smart's intelligence is going to get them over Michigan. Jim Harbaugh is going to be sent home packing. Aiden Hutchinson is going to be probably one of the top picks anyway. He's going to enjoy that nice signing bonus when he gets into the NFL. So I have the Georgia Bulldogs, the 7.5-point favorite. I have them beating University of Michigan. I have them moving on to the college football championship. And they're going to face on the winner of Alabama versus Cincinnati. Now, for all the people watching around the world, for everyone who supports the Sports Angle, I want to know from you in the chat down below. Do you agree or disagree that Georgia is going to win? You don't have to agree with my prediction that it's going to be a 35-28 score. Right? You don't have to go that far. I said 35-28. I want this game to be really close. I want this to be a nice battle between these two teams. But I have Georgia winning this game. I have them moving on to the college football playoff. On the opposite side of the bracket, we have Alabama and we have Cincinnati. Understand that this is going to be a game that is closer than most people realize. I mean, heck, even the odds makers and here in the sports books, here in the entertainment capital of the world, the sports book capital of the world, they're giving no chance to Cincinnati. Understand that they are giving absolutely no chance at all that Cincinnati's going to win this game. Alabama is a 13.5-point favorite. The over and under is 58.5. I mean, understand that they are really giving a lack of respect to Cincinnati. I mean, they've given more respect to the Georgia versus Michigan game than they did to the Alabama-Cincinnati game. Now, I could give you an insane angle. I could tell you that it's because they have a bias towards the non-Power 5 teams. Now, I could tell you the odds makers here in Las Vegas are not taking Cincinnati seriously because they think that Alabama is just going to steamroll over them. I understand why certain people think that way. However, I'm going to give you my angle live here on the show. I'm going to give you a little prediction here on this show. Now, my prediction is that, yes, Alabama will win this game. But I would take Cincinnati plus 13.5. Here's my logic for it. Desmond Ridder is one of the best upcoming quarterbacks and will be drafted in the 2022 NFL Draft. Their running game has been superb, and they have one of the best offensive lines in college football, according to metrics. Their defense has been solid. Their defense gets the job done. They do their job very well. And Luke Fickell has been one of the best upcoming rising stars in the head coaching position in college football for a reason. Understand that this Cincinnati team has been disrespected. They've pretty much been underappreciated in college football. And this isn't the first time Cincinnati has done this. This has been multiple years in a row that Cincinnati has been disrespected. So my angle is that I think this game right here will be 38-30. All right. I think this game will be 38-30. I think that when it comes to this game, it is going to be closer than what the odds makers expect. this game is going to be closer than what most people are anticipating here at the college football semifinals. Okay, I'm not jumping off the deep end. I'm not saying to you that Alabama is going to lose to Cincinnati. I don't believe that's going to be the case. However, I am confident in Cincinnati's ability, and I would take the underdog. I would take the points when it comes to Cincinnati. I would take the 13.5 because Cincinnati's going to make this game a lot closer than what people expect. And we've been talking about college football for the last half hour, and we're going to continue this by ending the show by talking about something that has been really intriguing to your host, Rocco Rachiele, and that is all of the games that have been canceled in college football. Now, for the people who do not know, the Arizona Bowl, which was going to be played between Boise State and Central Michigan, had to be canceled after Boise State withdrew from the game because of COVID-19. Understand that the Arizona Bowl, which was going to be played on December 30th, was going to be played between one of the top teams in the Mountain West and one of the top teams in the MAC Conference. The Boise State Broncos had to withdraw Monday afternoon after a spike of positive tests, leaving bowl officials little to no time to get alternatives for a game being scheduled. Now, this is not the first bowl game that has been canceled. Actually, this has actually been a reoccurring theme in college football. You had the Sun Bowl, which they had to replace Miami conveniently with Central Michigan because Miami was not able to play during COVID. Understand that the Hawaii Bowl had to be outright canceled because Hawaii had a spike in COVID tests. Understand that when it comes to these college football games, it is doing the same thing that the NHL's had to do. It has had to have a lot of things go wrong for them to actually look at things correctly. Understand that when it comes to the college football season, you have seen the Hawaii Bowl being canceled. You have seen the Arizona Bowl being canceled. The Sun Bowl had to be changed around. You had the Gator Bowl, which had to be changed around. Understand that when it comes to this organization, when it comes to college football, you've already had 4 games canceled. How many more games have to be canceled before it makes a big impact? But who already says that it doesn't make that big of an impact? I mean, I want everyone to stop and think about this. I want everyone to stop and really analyze what I'm saying to you. Because understand that the college football makes millions of dollars off of college football games. Understand that the NCAA spends a lot of money to get TV rights done with ESPN, with ABC, with CBS Sports, with Fox, with NBC. Understand that these bowl games being canceled, I want you to think about it from an economic perspective. Don't look at it from a player perspective. Look at it from an economic perspective. The Hawaii Bowl being canceled had to leave one team pretty much stranded in Hawaii, and they had to get a plane at the last minute to get back to where they were before. Understand that ESPN has had to fill plenty of time slots because they lost out on those 4 bowl games. That Arizona Bowl was going to make millions of dollars for Central Michigan and or Boise State, depending on who wins. Now, it is open knowledge that the winner of a bowl game makes a certain percentage of the purse, and the loser still gets a good amount of money for being at the bowl game. Understand the sports books make millions of dollars every single bowl game season because of the amount of bets that are placed on those games. Well, these games being canceled means that these sports books now have to give a portion of that money back. Those sports books and all the people who placed their bet on the Arizona Bowl, well, guess what? They have nothing to win now, and they're going to get some of that back because they bet on a game that was canceled. It was very similar to what happened in 2020. There was a huge financial turmoil because of all the games and all of the things that were betted on when COVID was struck. And in 2021, with the NHL debacle, we've actually been seeing the economic impact of them taking this 8-day break because of the sports books having to do a lot of readjustments with all these games being postponed, with all these games being canceled. So the Arizona Bowl, the Hawaii Bowl, the Sun Bowl, the Gator Bowl, it's a speck compared to what college football makes. All right, understand that it's a blemish compared to the Tostitos Bowl, compared to the college football playoff, compared to the most important games in college football. But losing multiple games in college football is going to lose them millions of dollars because of TV rights. It's going to lose them millions of dollars because of the purses that those teams were going to get at the end of the game. And it's going to lose them millions of dollars because of the sports books and all the bets and all the things that were flooded in for that game. Let's also talk about the alumni for a second. There are plenty of alumni of Boise State that were going to travel down to Arizona to go to the Arizona Bowl. Well, guess what? If they've already booked their tickets, if they're already down in Arizona, well, think about all the money that they have lost and all the money they're having to get back right now because they were at the Arizona Bowl expecting to see Boise State play. Let's say you were a Central Michigan alumni and you made the long trip from Michigan all the way down to Arizona just to find out that your team's not playing to begin with. That is a major shot to the gut, and it's a major shot to your checkbook as well. Let's also talk about the Sun Bowl real quick, because a lot of people are talking about Miami being out due to COVID. Well, a lot of people forget there were a lot of Miami fans that were going to travel down to that game to watch University of Miami. Texas A&M was going to get a good amount of following to get down to the Gator Bowl, and they have lost a lot of people because of them being canceled and them having to be taken out of the Gator Bowl. So my angle for the college football bowl games being canceled is very simple and straight to the point. My angle for the college football playoff and the college football bowl games is this, that the college football bowl games, them losing it is not the biggest thing in terms of how the game was played, but it is major due to the economic impact of the games. It's the economic impact of the sports books, the economic impact of the alumni traveling down to these games, and the economic impact of all of the TV rights and all of the purses that were going to be lost because of these games being canceled. Now, this is the Sports Angle. I'm your host, Rachiele. We are live every single Monday to Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Mountain, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. We will be back tomorrow for another great episode here on the Sports Angle. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back every single night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss out on these shows. And follow all the social medias at the Sports Angle. Go to our website, thesportsangle.com, to read all the articles we have on there, and follow your host at Rocco Rachiele. And until next time, rock on, and we will see you later.